If someone came to you and said, I want to give you a gift, and you get to choose either a 13-inch iPad Air and $500 in your pocket, or a 13-inch iPad Pro, which would you choose? So I ordered these two beautiful iPads the day they were announced, and I've spent the last couple of weeks using them. In this video, I compare the two and tell you which one I think I would choose. And for me, it's a photo finish. Stick around. Hi, my name is Rich, and I make easy to follow videos on how to use your iPhone and iPad. And I do my best to keep every video simple and straightforward. And hopefully, this video is no exception. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in or might find helpful, please consider subscribing. We're building a great community, and you're welcome to join us. And besides, it's free, and you can't say that about too many things these days, especially these two iPads. I've bought a lot of iPads over the years, and I'm always excited to get the latest and greatest, but once the shiny object syndrome wears off, I'm back to realizing that while the expensive iPad Pro is truly better than the much less expensive base iPad, the user experience is about the same. I mean, the $349 base iPad runs the same software as the new $1,299 iPad Pro. And today's comparison video is no different. The new 13-inch iPad Air that retails for $799 runs the same software as the new 13-inch iPad Pro that again retails for $1,299. And the question really comes down to this: is the iPad Pro worth the $500 difference? Normally, in every other video I've made comparing iPads, I'd say no. But this year's iPad Pro has me thinking maybe it is. So in today's video, I'm going to compare the iPad screens. I'm going to say just a few words about the M2 chip in the Air and the M4 chip in the Pro, the thinness of each iPad, Apple's different keyboards for these two iPads, and then lastly, I'm going to talk a little about the Intangbiles. Okay, let's get started. The first thing I want to mention is this is the iPad Air and this is the iPad Pro. This is $799 and this one is $1299. This one is $500 more than this one. And my guess is you look down on these two iPads, they look almost identical. And they are almost identical, except for a few things. First thing I want to talk about is the screen. So this iPad has the older screen on it, and it's a beautiful, bright, looks great screen. If they'd never created this screen, I'd probably be happy with this one. But this is the new dual layer OLED screen, and that means it just gets brighter. You can see it better in the daylight than you can this screen. Not that I'm out carrying this giant iPad in the daylight, but occasionally I do, and it's handy to be able to see it. And when you're in the sun, you can barely see this screen. You can see this screen. And that's kind of the difference between the two. But they both look really beautiful. But the difference between the two in person is that the blacks are just blacker and the whites are whiter. Everything is just a little more vibrant in the iPad Pro screen than in the iPad Air screen. But either way, they really do both look good. Now, Apple started creating their own computer chips a few years ago, and the iPad Air has the M2 chip in it, and the iPad Pro has the M4 chip in it. And the M4 chip is not in any of Apple's products, except the new iPad Pro. And there is kind of word on the street that Apple will be really updating its software in June of this year, and then it'll take full advantage of the iPad Pro M4 chip. So we'll just have to wait and see if that's the case. But honestly, when I use either of these iPads, I can't tell a difference in the speed. I mean, if I open the clock, it's just about the same. If I open the calendar, I mean, that's about as close to the same as you can get. If I open YouTube, maybe that'll be different. Maybe that was a hair faster. I don't know, but it's so close that it doesn't matter to me. So for me, the M2 chip versus the M4 chip, I'm just not seeing a difference. Now, maybe if you're someone who uses the heavy-duty Final Cut Pro apps, the M4 chip will work better. But my guess is that for most of you who are watching this video, you're probably not going to notice the difference between the M2 and the M4 chip, even though all of the stats say the M4 chip is much, much better. And again, we'll just see what Apple brings out in June of this year and whether that will take advantage of the new M4 chip. You know, both of these iPads are thin. Apple touts the iPad Pro 13-inch as the thinnest device it's ever made, and I believe it. But I wasn't really looking for a thinner iPad. I mean, you know, the iPad Air is thin. But here's where it gets weird. I really like the feel of the Pro in my hands. It just feels better than the Air. It seems like a silly thing, really. Maybe it would make no difference to some people, or even if it does, the $500 in your pocket feels better than a thinner iPad. I definitely get that. But this is one thing that totally surprised me. You know, maybe I've just been messing around with iPads too long. I don't know. But the thinness and the weight of the iPad Pro just makes me want to pick it up and use it. You know, my guess is over the long haul, I won't think too much about it. I guess only time will tell. As for the keyboards, Apple released a new keyboard to go with the new iPad Pro. And again, I wasn't looking for a new keyboard. The original iPad Magic Keyboard works with the iPad Air, and now we've got yet another version of an iPad keyboard. But the thing is, the new version is a lot better than the old version. Even though the old keyboard is great, and I've made a video or two on it, and I still love it. But the new keyboard has an aluminum top, a larger trackpad, and a row of function keys, making it just a better bargain than the old keyboard. But here's the thing. These keyboards are not interchangeable. So that means if you want a keyboard to go with your new iPad Pro, even though you have the previous generation keyboard, you got to pony up and spend another $350. So that stings. But in all honesty, I've been using the iPad Pro paired with a new keyboard, and I love it. Shiny syndrome or not on this one, I'm not going back. So at the beginning of this video, I hinted that this year's iPad Pro, despite the cost, might actually be a better buy than the new 13-inch iPad Air. And I think the reason I feel this way are the intangible things about the iPad Pro. And namely, while it only weighs a hair less than the iPad Air, it really does feel lighter. It's noticeable. And while it's only a hair thinner than the iPad Air, you can really tell the difference in your hand. And the screen is just nicer to look at, even though you probably can't tell from this video. And the new keyboard, though expensive, it really is better. There's no argument there. And for me, these seemingly small differences add up to tip the scales in the iPad Pro's favor. You know, the iPad Air is like a new, really nice high-end Toyota Avalon, and the iPad Pro is like a new Lexus. They are so similar in so many ways, and both are really nice, but the Lexus is just nicer, but pricier. I think you get the idea. One last intangible that I'm not sure I've ever seen in a YouTube video is the resale value of a used iPad. To help pay for these two iPads, I traded in my 2018 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I paid $999 for it 6 years ago, and Apple gave me $315 for it. That means the actual cost of that iPad was $685, which isn't too bad. This 2024 iPad Pro will most likely last me another 6 years, and I'll get a nice trade-in when the time comes. You know, in the end, if you're in the market for a new big iPad, you can't go wrong with either of these. To me, the extra cost of $500 for the iPad Pro, man, that's a lot of money. But maybe this year, despite the added cost, it tops the iPad Air, you know, at least for me. Okay, that's it for today. I hope this info helps you make a decision about which iPad to buy, the iPad Air or the iPad Pro. Let me just say you won't be disappointed with either one. Okay, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.